I had an experience that really creeped me out. It was one of those things you might hear about, but you never believe it could happen. It was disturbing. I'm a 40-year-old guy who has been dabbling in real estate. I have bought and sold or flipped 12 houses in the last 2 years. For the most part, it is a good business. There have been a few learning curves, but recently an extremely creepy learning curve. I try to only buy bank foreclosures, abandoned homes, or distressed properties. That way, there is no involvement with homeowners and all their woes of why they have to sell their home sweet home. I don't mean to be cold, but this is a business. I live in LA, and all of the homes I've flipped have been there, but I picked up a place up in the mountains. I was skeptical, but the price was right. It was actually my first house I had bought to flip. It was run down pretty bad. It needed all the big stuff like kitchen, bath, roof, and a lot of cleaning and painting. After I finished all the renovations, I fell in love with it. The view overlooked the city, and the neighboring houses were all spaced a half a mile from each other. So when I got the place, like I said, it was a foreclosure. I lowballed a bid, and to my delight, it was accepted. When I walked in for the first time, it looked like whoever lived there had just left to go to the store or was out in the backyard. The house was fully furnished with couches, tables, beds. Even the fridge and cupboards had food in them. There were plates and silverware on the table. All 4 plates had half-eaten food on them. I agree, that's weird, but just wait. It gets weirder. People have pictures on their walls, so did this place. However, there were frames on every wall and flat surface, but none of them had pictures in them. Well, maybe you could call them pictures. Every frame had the same picture of Jesus on the cross. It was very overwhelming. I gathered them up and I counted 103 picture frames. I would never throw them out, so I donated them to a homeless shelter. They were graciously received. The bathroom was riddled with mold, but there were towels, shampoo, and even a child's bathtub toy on the side of the tub. At that point, I grabbed my cell and called the bank to confirm that this was my house. After an address and location check, they confirmed I was in the right place. I thought maybe I had a squatter. Then I started looking at the food on the table. It was definitely spoiled. It's 2022, and all the food in the cupboard and fridge were dated from 2018, including what I could only assume was a gallon of milk. With a heightened amount of caution, I worked my way to the back of the house where the bedrooms were. The master bedroom, or the parents' room, was at par with the rest of the house. In the center of the room was an old bed. Next to it was a bassinet. It looked like something had chewed on it, like a large rodent. The bed had been wrapped with what looked like kitchen plastic wrap. They wrapped the mattress, headboard, and bed frame. trying to keep a positive attitude. I thought maybe they were just trying to protect it, like how you shrink wrap a boat. As I got closer, I could see the mattress was black with mold. It looked like old, rotted bones were sealed between the mattress and the clear wrapping. Chickens. Someone had wrapped a bed full of dead chickens with feathers, feet, and beaks all intact. They were so rotted that it took a minute to figure out what they were. I guess that doesn't matter as much as who in the world does that. I quickly moved to the hallway. From my peripheral view, I noticed someone in the extra bedroom. I turned quickly to see a girl that looked to be about 10 years old, sitting in a child's school desk. I called out to her, but there was no response. I slowly entered the room. She had long, dark hair. It was about halfway down her back. Some of it swept forward, concealing her face. She wore a blue dress and black shoes, similar to Alice in Wonderland. She looked dirty, and her dress was stained and ripped. As I got closer, I could see her hands and feet were tied to the desk with some kind of rope. Slowly, I walked to the front of the small desk. On the desk was an open Bible. It was like she was being forced to read it. In a comforting voice, I tried to tell her I wasn't going to hurt her, that I only wanted to help her. Still, there was no response. When I moved closer, I started to notice something wasn't right. Aside of the obvious, with a closed fist, just in case, I pushed her hair aside so I could see her. She was a doll, a life-sized doll of a little girl. She was filthy. The face had been melted. Only one eyeball remained. However, it had a very disturbing stare. I don't know which would be worse, actually finding a child or this mutation of a doll that scared the crap out of me. With my heart fighting to get out of my chest, I backed up and just stared at it while I tried to compose myself. I just kept thinking, what kind of sick person would do all of this? I backed toward the hallway. When I reached it, I took a deep breath and grabbed my cell phone. I called a dumpster company and offered them some extra money to have a 50-yard dumpster dropped off the following day. They agreed. 9 a.m. the next day, me and 6 friends went to the house. I got sanitation suits for everyone helping. We looked like a hazmat team. It was a lot of work. My work motto was, don't talk about it, just dumpster it. By the end of the day, the dumpster was full. The house was empty, and it was ready to be renovated. It took about a month and about $60,000, but when it was done, it wasn't even the same house. My friend said it looked like someone took the old crappy house and replaced it with a brand new one. I loved what the house had become. The scenery, the mountain air. It was just awesome. I decided to keep it. My wife and I took to it immediately. Our first and only night we spent there was beyond creepy. A brand new furnace, and yet I would feel cold spots throughout the house. Some spots felt like a window was open. As we laid in our king-sized pillow-top bed, we felt like things, I don't know what, were moving around the inside of our mattress. I freaked out. So I took a knife and cut open the side of a brand new mattress to see what was moving around. It was empty. My wife said she kept feeling someone poking her with a finger. Then she would hear a little girl's laughter. She asked if I could hear it, but I couldn't. I kept smelling a burning smell that my wife couldn't smell. At about 3 a.m, we packed up and left. The house went up for sale the next day. It drew a ton of showings. Every person that looked at it said they loved it and wanted to make an offer. The next day, every buyer called and canceled their offer. I still own the house. I have not been back there since the night we left. I have no plans to ever go back there. 8 different real estate companies have tried to sell it, but unfortunately, all have given up. Thinking about it now, I don't think I actually own the house. Apparently, I just renovated it for the previous owner.